morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you may find yourself as you listen to this. And welcome to the show that is truly responsible for every bar you've ever heard from A Ward. This person was behind it. This guy. It's not called Brains and Bars for nothing, people. You tune into another episode of It's a Black and White Thing featuring A1. The homie A Ward is not in the building tonight. He is going over the bars I've sent him to prepare for APA. For Culture 6 going down on iBattle this weekend in New York. So while he's rehearsing the lines that I've clearly written for him, as Real Sick said in his battle versus Ward, he has a team of ghostwriters. I am the head ghostwriter. I'm the only ghostwriter. There are no 12 ghostwriters. It's just me. Every hot bar you ever heard from him. It's me. It's all me. It's all me. I kid because we care, but no. But the homie is getting this material together to battle Appa. It should be a dope battle going down this weekend. I cannot remember if this is one where I think it was the event iBattle had a couple of weeks ago where they streamed it live on YouTube. I don't think this is the one that's streaming on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, get the iBattle app, subscribe. I think they have a yearly option and a monthly option. Subscribe to the iBattle app. You can check out Culture 6 on the app. I do know they also, if you don't want to subscribe and become a monthly member, they also, if you subscribe to that or not subscribe to that, download the app. You can also get the VOD, which they release about a day or so after their events. If you wanted to check out just that particular battle, Appa is a rising star in the battle rap culture. Got his start in the spaces. Does great impersonations. I think I think it's Mook impersonation of the Kill. I think he does a Luke Castro. That's really good. I want to say he also does a Loaded Lux that is really good, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, so Rising Star started on Twitter Spaces and is now making his way up the iBattle ranks. He is their current headband champion. This is a battle that I personally have been waiting for. I know Ward has talked about he can't wait for the chance to step in the ring and battle Appa because he is a fan of Appa as well. So should be a good one. Should be a good back and forth, man. So y'all go check that out. Coming up this weekend, December 9th, that's Saturday in Staten Island. All right. So as always, you can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing by going to the podcast app of your choice, searching for It's a Black and White Thing or Brains and Bars. Rate, subscribe, give us 5 stars, leave a comment. You can also check us out on YouTube by searching Brains and Bars, hitting that notification bell, hitting that like button, commenting, sharing that to as many people as possible. We always appreciate the people who watch, who like, subscribe, share, comment. I might have actually ran into somebody this week who I did not know, who was not like someone that I was related to, friends with, who was like, yo, I saw you on the podcast. Had somebody at work say, yo, I saw you on the podcast. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, slow growth. I'll take it. We got a interesting show. I'm probably going to be on here for about maybe 30, 45 minutes. We'll see what happens. Going to talk about college football playoff. Going to talk about week 13 of the NFL. Look ahead to week 14. Some of the more interesting matchups is going to be happening there. So, and in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I might also put the StreamYard link out if anybody wants to pull up on me. Regulars who have, who comment on the show and whose comments I read. If y'all watching, y'all want to jump on here, holler at me about any of the topics I'm talking about. Got something that you want to get off your chest, we can do that as well. But if not, I'm cool with being just me. So let's get into it, man. So, college football playoff final rankings happened this past weekend. You had the not national title. You had the conference championship games, Pac-12, Big 12, SEC, ACC, Big 10 all go down this weekend. Not a lot of compelling games. Obviously, the Pac-12 championship the final Pac-12 championship was very bittersweet. Going down between Oregon and Washington was the most compelling game. I guess, and the SEC. I'll throw them in there too. Very close game, very compelling games. And the committee released their final ranking. So I want to go back to Saturday night and then work my way to Sunday. We can keep talking about this, right? So, you had the great game between Oregon and Washington. It comes down to another 3-point victory for Washington. We get into the SEC title game after that. And as we're watching the game ends, Bama wins. And shout out to the homie Shock. I'm going to give him his due here. He posts in the group that we're in. He goes, yo, Bama's going to sneak their way into another championship, winning another championship, right? And I went, I can't, because we had already seen Texas defeat Oklahoma State pretty handily. They were 12-1. They have their biggest win was over Bama. I said, and if Florida State, if they handle business tonight, I get it. They're down Jordan Travis. He's out for the year. But if they handle their business against Louisville, I can't see the committee leaving out Texas, whose best win is over Bama, or Florida State, who's a Power 5 top 4 team with the championship undefeated. I said, I just can't see that, right? Washington's in because they own 2 top 5 wins over Oregon, undefeated, won their conference championship. And Michigan, it goes without saying, right? Big Ten champ. They had Iowa. I mean, that game was going to be trash. Like, it wasn't going to be good because it's Iowa. And so I said, to me, the top 4 is going to be, initially I said it was going to be Michigan, Washington, Texas, and then Florida State in that order. And then having a conversation online with the person, I was like, well, no, actually, yeah, I think I said Georgia. I think I might have had Georgia first at 4 if they had lost. And after a quick conversation, I was like, you know what? Ward kind of got me straightened out on some things. Talking to a person online, I'm like, okay, the top 4 should be Michigan, Washington, Texas, and then Florida State. Because I did think that there were compelling, based on resume, based on body of work, I did think that there were compelling reasons to have Georgia or Bama be that 4th spot over Florida State. But at the end of the day, I said, you know what? Again, undefeated, power conference champion, get it, lost their quarterback. And then we get to Sunday. And I'm in church, listening to the sermon. I have the Bible on my phone, right? So, got my phone going on with the sermon, and all of a sudden a drop down hits, like notification hits. The committee has released their top 4. Their top 4 is number 1, Michigan, number 2, Washington, number 3, Texas, and number 4, Alabama. And I didn't have the opportunity, because I was in church, because I'm listening to the sermon, I didn't have an opportunity to truly react in that moment, or to have jump in the group chat and have a bunch of deep debates and discussions. But in the moment, I thought the committee has lost their mind, right? If you go back to why the committee was created, it was created in part because you would have things kind of like this, right? Where you had a BCS, you had analytics, a computer looking at data, not looking at full pictures, not looking at performance, simply looking at data and spitting out a number that said these 2 teams were the worthy teams to play for the national championship. And to be fair to the BCS, more times than not, it got it right. There were some glaring issues. I think you had Miami left out one year that Nebraska got in, even though Nebraska got killed in their conference title game. That's the one that sticks out off the top of my head, right? But you had those times, right, where it's just like, eh. And so we, as college football fans, we said we want the human element. We don't want computers. We don't want data. We want to have real people sit down and discuss who should be in the playoff. And for the most part, to give credit to the committee, this might be its 2nd or 3rd iteration. I can't remember how many changes they've had along the way. They've gotten it right, right? There have been some controversial ones. I think you have Ohio State, the year they won it all, getting included into the playoff. There have been some other ones. I know Notre Dame has been a controversial one, the year they got blasted in 2020 by Clemson in the ACC title game. So you've had some teams where people like, I don't know, Oklahoma got in one year. Maybe they shouldn't have. The thing that I love about this 14 playoff, and the thing that I think we're losing as we go to 12, is that this 14 playoff, it caused you to value the regular season incredibly, right? You had to win all your games, 1 loss, maybe 2 losses, but you had to play your best. Every game counted. Every game mattered. The games against the big boys, the games against the nondescript teams, the FCSs, Division twos, you had to win them all, right? If you wanted as a Power 5 conference team. That means winning all your games and a conference championship. Or if you're Notre Dame, the best way for you to get into the playoff is to go undefeated, right? Because Notre Dame's going to play a decent enough schedule. They had until this year, they hadn't had any non-FBS opponents. They'd always played Division I opponents, right? And so the regular season always mattered. And in one decision, which, I do think the FSU AD is right, that will have far-reaching reverberations, they devalue the regular season of Florida State. Florida State won all their games, won their conference. I get it. Jordan Travis is the quarterback. I get he's not coming back. I get Tate Rodemaker had not looked great against Florida, but they won the game. Their defense stepped up in the absence of Tate Rodemaker. I'm sorry, in the absence of Jordan Travis. And in my opinion, that defense is a defense that could compete with Michigan, that could compete with Bama, Texas, Georgia, you name it. They could compete with any of the top 4, top 6 teams in the playoff. Me, based on how they played against Florida, based on how they played against Louisville, yes, it was an ugly game. Yes, it wasn't a good game. They should have gotten the right to prove it on the field. And instead, the committee chose to follow. They chose to be like us. They chose to be like Twitter fans and just casual fans and diehards who say, well, we just want the best matchup. But here's the thing, guys, you got to understand. 70%, there have been 27 college football playoff games, semifinals and finals. 27 of those games have resulted in blowouts. 19 of the 27, that's 70%, have resulted in blowouts. And it's not people go, oh, well, of course, that's what happens when you let Notre Dame in, you let Washington in, or you let TCU in. No, that's happened to Clemson. That's happened to Oklahoma. That's happened to Ohio State. That's happened to Bama, right? You've had all these blue bloods, all these top of the line programs get into that Final Four and get their butts handed to them at one point or another, whether that be a semifinal, or whether that be a final, right? Maybe it hasn't looked as bad as a TCU versus Georgia, but there have been some ugly games from the best of the best within that tournament. Here are the things that people are overlooking. We truly don't know. We can theorize that, if we let Florida State in, they're just going to lose by 40 to Michigan. Newsflash, people. Iowa has the worst offense I have ever seen in my life. Iowa, in that game against Michigan, the over-under for the first half point total for Iowa was 0.5. Not 1.5, not 2 point. All they needed was a safety, a field goal, and they covered the first half spread. And they couldn't do that. In that game, Michigan both covered. And I think it was 20 and a half points, I think was the spread. And they also hit the under in the same game for the total point. So Iowa has one of the worst offenses of all time. Really good defense. Florida State has weapons. They have they have 2 wide receivers who are going to be drafted when they come out this year, right? They have decent offensive linemen. They have a stellar defense. It's got a couple of guys who are going to be drafted day 1, maybe day 2 in this upcoming draft. That was a team that had a defense that could compete. They didn't have Rodemaker for that game. He was going to be back. By the time the bowl game rolled around, he suffered a concussion. But Florida State had 2 SEC wins, one over LSU, one over Florida in their rivalry game. That defense held Louisville, which is a top 20 offense, to its worst performance of the season. And they were fully healthy. They weren't missing pieces. They had everybody they needed to win that game. Jaden Daniels, who's probably going to be your Heisman Trophy winner, his worst game of the season was against Florida State. His worst numbers of the season, by far, against Florida State. He went crazy. Against LSU, right? So again, you talk about Florida State's going to get blown out by 40 against Michigan. Michigan couldn't do that to Iowa with a terrible offense. Their defense stepped up and put up some of their best performances of the season in the absence of their leader, right? And here's the thing. I think Florida State could have beat Michigan, even with Rodemaker, because here's the other little dirty truth about the top 4 teams, the top 6 teams. None of them have been playing championship level football. Not Georgia, not Bama, not Florida State, not Texas, not Ohio State, not Michigan. All 6 of those teams, not Washington, I almost left them out. All six of those teams were playing winning football, but they were not. If you had to look at all six of them, not one of them had played a game where you go, oh, okay. Except maybe Georgia. Georgia had some. They were blowing out some teams, but that Florida. I'm sorry, not the Florida game. The Mizzou game for Georgia was tight. It was tight for a little bit. They ended up pulling away at the end, but it was a close game. But none of those teams truly had those runaway, far and away. Oh, that's what the number one team in the country looks like. That's what a future champion looks like. They did what they had to do to win. And when you take a team, shout out to Mama Ward in the building. I appreciate you. When you have a team that has put together a perfect season like that, you cannot leave them out. Otherwise, you say their season doesn't matter. And what the committee said was, what matters is the last game for Bama, the last 2.5 games, or game and a half for Florida State. That's what they assess their season on, not looking at the full body of work. It is not to say that Bama is not worthy of consideration. But y'all sit here and tell me all the time that football is a meritocracy, that it matters, salute, 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 shout out Smoke Kings, that it matters that football, you earn it on the field. Nothing is given to you. You take it, right? You earn your respect. You earn your ranking. You earn that title on the field. And yet the committee chose to, in a sense, ignore it. They did not ignore it, but they ignored it. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? They said, Florida State, you are the 5th best team in the country, but you would be the 4th or the 3rd best team in the country if you had your quarterback. And while we're on the subject of quarterbacks, let me help you understand something. Quarterback is the most important position on the field. It matters. It matters a lot. I'm not denying that. But we have elevated quarterback to a position where you always hear people say quarterbacks get too much blame, too much credit, right? But in this instance, they basically, I saw a tweet that said, Jordan Travis must be the Heisman Trophy winner because he's so important to his team that they couldn't even make the playoff without him. You cannot tell me that you could not see Florida State being competitive with Michigan. We don't know. And here's the thing. People say, well, what would Vegas say? I'm glad you asked that. Vegas in the Pac-12 championship game said that Washington was a 9.5-point dog to a team that they had already beat previously. So even Vegas can get it wrong. We can't look at Vegas. We can't look at narratives. We can't look at how we might feel someone would perform. We can't guesstimate how we think how they would perform. Herm Edwards gave it to us straight. Hello, why do we play? We play to win the game. Thank you, Trent. It takes years for genius to be recognized. Trent said, I thought backup QB is the most important position on the team. First of all, you're bastardizing my point because it's not what I said, sir. It's not what I said. What I said was, if you have your quarterback and you have your skill position roster set, you have average talent at most of your positions where you can compete with other teams, that backup quarterback then becomes the most important position to take care of. Because if something happens to your starter, you need a quarterback who is capable of either carrying you for a few games or, if need be, potentially carrying you through a postseason. And you know what? Kanye said, I'm ahead of my time, sometimes years out. That's why the powers that be won't let me get my ideas out. I was ahead of my time. I came out that QB theory 4 or 5 years ago, and folks was hating. Folks laughed at me. Now you look across the NFL, backup quarterback is important. You look at the college football playoff, the backup quarterback is important because an undefeated team was left out because they didn't believe in the backup quarterback. Crown me, please. Crown me, please. I don't be out here just saying stuff, just be saying stuff. Listen to me now. Believe me later on, Trent. You're underdig. You understand what I'm saying? Listen to me now. Believe me later on, baby. The backup quarterback is very important, apparently in college football too. So again, We cannot go off of how we feel, what we might think might happen. We can't use Vegas as our guy because again, Vegas had TCU getting crushed by Michigan. Y'all had TCU getting crushed by Michigan, and they pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the college football playoff last year. I get it. They got smoked in the title game. Okay. But y'all said they didn't deserve to be in the semifinal and they made it to the finals. We don't know what could have happened. It is possible that Florida State could have beat Michigan. And now the goalposts are going to get moved, right? Because now when they go to play in the Orange Bowl against Georgia, well, if they really care, they beat Georgia and they can prove us wrong. What does that do for them? That doesn't get them a shot at the title. It does nothing for them other than they get to beat an SEC team. They're third of the year, by the way, if they happen to win that game. But if they lose, see, we told you, bro, we don't know. They deserve that, and that's the whole point. They deserve the opportunity to see if they could compete. Their defense earned that opportunity. They're back, their third string quarterback, like winning a game with your third string quarterback. Winning a game with your third string quarterback is a huge achievement because obviously, as you can only lose so much talent at a position before it starts to become a detriment. Chiefs fans know this. You lost all your offensive linemen. You got to the Super Bowl. It mattered. It didn't matter until you faced a defense that could put pressure on you. Louisville, again, a 3-loss team, a team with a really good defense. I think it's a top 30 defense, a top 20 offense. So they could beat Florida State. And to be honest, they had a touchdown taken away from them that should have counted. They could have beat them. They were shut down. And so winning a game, that shows the strength of your team over a singular personality, a singular player. And that's all I got to say. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and hit. We about 25 minutes in. Hold on one second. I just posted a link in the chat. If y'all want to pull up on me, you're more than welcome to. Trent asked me, you really wanted to see FSU over Bama or Georgia? Yes. What was I going to do? Listen, I've watched all manner of I watched Michigan State in the college football playoff. Yes, I would watch Michigan versus Florida State. I'm a college football fan. It's not like people were not going to watch. At worst, people were going to show up to see if they were going to get crushed. And if by halftime, if it was 25-0, yeah, then people turn the TV off. But putting these teams together does not guarantee competitiveness. Because if Michigan blows out Bama, what are y'all going to say then? Not to say that I think that's going to happen, because I do think that Bama can win it all, because credit to Bama, they have improved throughout the season. Now, it's the worst Bama team to ever make the playoff, and that's not up for debate. They struggled with A&M. They should have lost to Auburn. They struggled with South Florida, for God's sakes. Right? Got beaten up on by Texas at home. So you can't tell me that this is a great Bama team. It's a good Bama team. All these teams are flawed. So again, yes, I would have liked to have seen them play. I would have liked to have seen them try to make something happen. That's all I'm saying. Hold on one second, y'all. Let me see if I can throw this shout out to the homie Jesse in the building. He says it's a joke, and I agree wholeheartedly. I'm going to try to see if I can throw this on Facebook real quick. So if you get this feedback, please forgive me. But no, man, I mean, y'all let me know what y'all think, though. Like, do you think, well, I know how the majority feel, right? The majority feel that the committee got it right. I don't think they got it right. Period. I don't think they got it right, man. I'm trying to, let me see if I can make this work. Hold on, please. 1 second, people. Oh, yeah. Here we go. If you follow me on Facebook, I just put in the comments. If you want to pull up on me for a hot second, you can definitely pull up on me. All right. But again, I'm going to watch the games. And I want to say this as I kind of close out the college football talk and jump into the NFL. If you are a college football fan, you have a favorite college football team, whether you attended there and that's your alma mater, or whether you're just a fan of the team, like I am, right? I didn't go to Notre Dame, but I rock with Notre Dame. I need y'all to stop complaining so much. I am tired of the whining. I'm tired of seeing people talk about meaningless games. hold that thought real quick, because Jesse said something. He says, I don't think they got it right. FSU got holes, period. If that was your team, you would agree. You would. And here's the question I want to pose to people who talk about Bama, because here's the other point. I saw Deion say this. We ain't talking about no KU football if you pull up here, Trent. I'm just tell you, I have the power to bring you into this world and take you out of this world. All right. Anyway, Deion said, well, it's Bama, right? How you gonna leave Bama out? And he's making a historical argument, not an argument rooted in facts, stats, data. He's making a historical because the SEC, Mike Slive tried to do that. Well, the SEC's been so dominant. How can you leave us out? You weren't good enough, sir. What do you mean? We're not talking about what you did last year. We're not talking about what you've done for. We're talking about what you've done for me lately. Shout out to Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. We're talking about what you've done for me lately. Ooh, yeah. Your teams were okay. Georgia was an okay team. They were a flawed team. So don't talk to me about history. Don't talk to me about precedent. Talk to me about what you did as a whole this year. All right. So back to the college football fans. Nothing infuriates me more than to hear college football fans say, if it ain't the college football playoff, it's meaningless. And when did sports become so much about winning being the only thing where we can't simply enjoy a game because we want to sit down and watch our favorite team play? Notre Dame could be playing in the Leavenworth All-Stars. They got Leavenworth Penitentiary, right? They could be playing the Leavenworth All-Stars. And if it's televised, I'm watching because I enjoy Notre Dame football. I want to see Notre Dame football. I want to see them I want to see them succeed. Right? They're not perfect. I've criticized Marcus Freeman and his offensive philosophy on this show. I've had things to say about that. But if they're playing, I'm watching because I'm a fan. If you're truly a fan of your team, it does not matter whether they play in a New Year's Six Bowl, in a college football playoff. I get it. If you're an LSU fan, right? Georgia fan, Ohio State, Florida State, Notre Dame, you had aspirations of your team being one of the Final Four. It did not happen. That does not mean that those young men are not worthy of your dollar, not worthy of your ticket to go see them, not worthy of your investment at home to watch them. Enjoy the games, right? As much as I want to see these kids get paid, the system is the system. They're not listening to me. I want to see them get paid. And I hope that happens someday, that there is revenue sharing from the billions of dollars they generate in media rights for these games. But until that happens, if Notre Dame, they're playing in El Paso, the people said they sold out in a day. When that game happens, I'm going to have my TV on and I'm going to support Notre Dame. I'm going to be happy when they do well. I'm going to be sad when they don't. Right? Everything doesn't always have to have high stakes on them. This is the problem when you have gambling culture infecting everything. When playoffs when championships being the only thing that matters, when it infects your entire culture. Just enjoy the games. Enjoy the growth of these young men as they become better and they turn into stars in front of your eyes. Marvin Harrison Jr. became a star in what you would call a meaningless game because it wasn't a college football playoff game. We watched him blossom in the Rose Bowl. We watched Vince Young turn into a star in the Rose Bowl the year before he won the national championship against Michigan. You watch these young men turn into stars in front of your very eyes. And sometimes we miss the forest for the trees, complaining about what we do and do not have. Ward, he's not here. He quit. No, I'm kidding. Ward is getting ready for APA. He's writing for APA, so he's not joining us tonight. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh said they need to get paid. Like, listen, y'all say what y'all want about Harbaugh. Let me throw my scammers on real quick. Hold on. Let me get it together. He was cheating. He was cheating. Well, allegedly. Someone in his program was cheating. Allegedly. But one thing Jim Harbaugh is right about, the kids deserve to get paid. And I'm going to close out because I'm at the 30-minute mark. I'm going to close out. We're going to jump into the NFL. But real quick, let me say this. I don't know if y'all saw this today, but the NCAA recommended the head of the NCAA came out with a recommendation that the Power Four conferences create their own division where they can compensate the players. Right now, Title IX comes into play, so they have to make sure they compensate the men's programs. The women's programs also have to be compensated. But basically, the compensation would come directly to the schools. I'm sorry, to the players, and then they can also get whatever money they can make on name, image, and likeness. And while that is a step in the right process, that's a step in the right direction. Excuse me. It ain't enough. It's not listen, what did Jadakiss say? It's good, but it's not enough. I need to see a cut of that TV money going to the kids. Now, if you tell me you're gonna make that happen, then we getting somewhere. But we are getting closer and closer. College sports is basically pro sports with the glossy amateur finish on it, right? But if we get to that point where you have the 4 power conferences and Notre Dame and Washington State and Oregon, because if they win the divorce between them and the other 10 schools who are leaving, they're going to be sitting on a bunch of dough. If those schools decide to break away and create their own thing, this is pro sports. It is pro minor league sports, right? Because the NFL is still the NFL. But you can't. I'm going to say it. A 12-team playoff was not needed. It was not necessary. It was done for the money, in which the kids see none of it. And the kids need their bread. They are the reason we watch. They're the reason we spend money on merch. They're the reason we are on message boards every day. At least once a day, I'm on irishillustrated.com at 24/7 Sports. They deserve their piece of the pie. Now, let me know what y'all think about that. Hit me up at Brains and Bars on YouTube, Twitter. What do you think about the college football playoff? What do you think about the Power Four conferences breaking away to create their own league, essentially? Let me know what y'all think about that. All right, man, let's jump into the NFL, right? Week 13 action went down this weekend. Y'all see it, man. I don't normally be out here with the flying the team colors like this. I'm low key. I'm a low key fan. So I don't normally be out here, supporting the team like that. I did have an epic rant the other night about college football fans. Shout out to Jesse.